Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the preview for the 2022 Spanish Grand Prix, the first race in a double header with Monaco. It could be an action-packed, thrilling 2 weeks. Straight in with the sarcasm. Look, I say this every year, but this is a race I don't tend to get overly excited about because, let's be honest, the Spanish Grand Prix isn't often exactly a cracker. However, this season, I reckon there's something that could make this weekend fascinating, but I'll get onto that in a few. First up, though, let's kick off, as we always do, with a look at the usual round of track stats and all the good stuff that follows. So last time out, F1 was in Miami for the first ever Grand Prix around the Hard Rock Stadium, but now it's on to Spain for round 6 of the 2022 season. A lap of the circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia is 4.675 kilometres long. That is just over 2.9 miles if you prefer, and is made up of a total of 16 corners. And come Sunday, we should see a total of 66 racing laps. Just the 2 DRS zones this weekend in the usual spots for this circuit. So that means we've got the first one between turns 9 and 10 with the second down that long start-finish straight. The race at record is a 1:18.149, and that was set by Max Verstappen last year on his way to second place behind race winner Lewis Hamilton and ahead of the second Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas. When it comes to overtaking, it's not actually an easy track to overtake on, as we've seen so many times over the years. I mean, the best spot is without doubt down at turn 1, and that's primarily because it obviously follows that long DRS straight. And although they have changed the hairpin at turn 10, it is still an opportunity to try and move thanks again to another burst of DRS. It's also a real shame we've still got that final chicane, because I actually reckon the old configuration would have lent itself pretty well to these new regulations. And that might well in turn have led to a few extra overtakes into that first corner. But this brings me on to my point that I was getting at earlier. I honestly do think that this could well be the first proper test of these new regulations. Sure, we've had 5 races so far at a real mix of circuits with varying results, but this circuit is consistently tough to follow on and tough to overtake on. So in theory, and I suppose it is ultimately just a theory, if these rules work at this track, if the drivers can follow more easily, if we do see much closer racing and more action through the field, if the rules work here, they could well work anywhere. Well, just about anywhere. Again, though, that is just a theory, and I could be way off with that. I'm properly intrigued by this weekend, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out, and I hope the 2022 regulations do help to change the perception of the circuit to Barcelona. And before anybody pipes up, I know we have had some good races at the circuit, but my point is, they're not exactly a regular thing, so fingers crossed the new rules package does create better racing. But you know what? Forget about close racing, forget about overtaking, and forget about my theories, because let's face it, you are all here for one reason and one reason only. It's tyre talk time. Oh yes, the compounds available for this weekend are the hardest in the Pirelli range, and they are of course the hard C1, the medium C2, and the soft C3, the same nomination as last season, but obviously this year's tyres are very different. Last year's winning strategy, for what it's worth, was a 2-stopper, and that's something we do tend to see at Barcelona due to the higher levels of stress put on the tyres and the abrasive surface. Long story short, it's just a high degradation circuit, so expect to see 2 stops on Sunday. And according to Aston Martin, the average pit lane lost time is around 23 seconds per stop, so timing those tyre changes well will be critical this weekend. The safety car can also play a part and has been deployed at least once at 8 races at the track over the years. And once again, we've seen at least one safety car period at every race so far this season, so do not be surprised if we see another. Rain isn't expected to have an impact though, and it is currently forecast to stay warm and dry all weekend, with highs on Friday for practice expected to be around 25 degrees. Saturday will be warmer apparently for FP3, with highs of 26 and then 27 degrees for qualifying. And on Sunday it will be ever so slightly warmer, with highs of 28 degrees for the start of the race. And the risk of rain for the entire event, at time of recording at least, is less than 5%. And your schedule for the weekend, somewhat unsurprisingly, given F1 is back in Europe, is back to the usual European times. FP1 on Friday will get the weekend underway from 1 p.m. BST, with FP2 taking place later that afternoon at 4 p.m. The third practice session is from midday on Saturday, with qualifying kicking off from 3 p.m. later that day. And it is lights out for the race on Sunday at 2 p.m. and once again, that is in UK time. Now, before we move on, I'd just like to thank NordVPN for sponsoring this week's preview. I'm often told by my subscribers and followers to go out there and get a VPN so I can watch all sorts of sports and shows from all over the world, and I have finally taken your advice. And by connecting to one of NordVPN's more than 5,400 servers in 60 different countries, you will be able to explore the internet freely on up to 6 devices, and that even means being able to watch streaming services from other countries. So I've been using NordVPN now for a few weeks, and I've been able to enjoy some sports from around the world. I also watch a lot of Netflix, some might say too much. And as you may well know, the Netflix content library varies from country to country. So I've also been able to check out some shows that are not available here in the UK, or without even having to budge from my own sofa. It also helps to keep you and your information safe online thanks to features including double data encryption and an automatic kill switch, as well as threat protection, which when activated with just one click will help protect your device from malicious websites, malware, trackers, and more. And of course, you lovely F1 Word viewers can grab yourself an exclusive NordVPN deal by clicking the link in the video description, or by heading to nordvpn.com/F1Word, where you can get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus free threat protection and 1 additional month for free. And all of that is completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. I love a rhyme. But let's get back to the preview and the talking points ahead of this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. So usually at the Spanish Grand Prix weekend, we see teams bring a lot of updates to their cars, and this year is no exception, with most of the grid arriving with something new, or expected to arrive with something new. Now, according to Motorsport Italy, Ferrari is expected to bring a raft of changes, including a new floor to reduce its porpoising problems, a new brake duct, and a higher downforce rear wing. Red Bull reportedly has modifications for its diffuser and floor, with a big focus also on weight saving, and that'll be the case for most teams, I would imagine. And Toto Wolff has said Mercedes will get the chance to correlate the data it has from winter testing with its current design, and are hopeful the team can take another step forward. Elsewhere, Alpine is set to bring a new rear wing to its car this weekend. Aston Martin apparently has a new floor, but although nothing else has been confirmed from what I've read anyway, Sebastian Vettel said in Miami that they would have a big package of updates, so expect to see more. Frederic Vasseur described the floor as the key to performance, but Alfa Romeo's update package will not just centre around the floor, according to Vasseur. Haas, though, won't have anything major to show off, according to Gunther Steiner, who says the team is choosing to wait a little bit longer, maybe 4 or 5 races, before introducing anything significant, as he believes there is still performance in the car without them. Meanwhile, Ferrari boss Mattia Binotto does not understand how Red Bull has been able to keep improving its car over recent races without digging deeply into its budget for the year, and does not believe the team will be able to keep up its level of development as the season goes on, adding that if there is a concern, it's how much Red Bull are developing considering the cap, and quote, "That's certainly a concern we have got." As for his team, Binotto says the reality is the Scuderia don't have the money to spend to bring updates to every race, not because of a lack of cash, but because of that budget cap. However, going back to just before the first race of the season, Christian Horner said that Red Bull had an aggressive strategy for development in 22, and that means the team must be, again quote, "strategic in how you apply your funds to developments." And Helmut Marko was pretty clear that the team is not burning through its budget and does not believe Red Bull is in a significantly different position to Ferrari. He explained that the team plans its updates in such a way that means the car loses weight with each upgrade as it tries to reach the minimum weight limit. Essentially, the gains look so big because it's shedding weight as well as updating the car. Keep an eye on this one though. These feel like the first warning shots in what could be an intense battle this season, not just on the track, but off it. Nyck De Vries will get his very first taste of an F1 race weekend as he gets behind the wheel of Alex Albon's Williams during FP1 on Friday. This will count towards the new rule for this year that dictates that every team must run a rookie in at least 2 Friday sessions in 2022. Williams says the Dutchman's experience and professionalism will be crucial as he completes key engineering tests, no idea what they could be, and the team hopes he will be able to give a fresh opinion on the car's strengths and weaknesses. De Vries himself says he has not yet thought about any real targets and doesn't really know what to expect, but he is excited for the challenge and the experience. He finished by saying that it's been quite a while since he last drove a very quick car on a track, and so he will need to adapt his approach versus the street tracks he's used to racing on. And finally, for this part, F1 has decided that it will not fill the vacant gap on the calendar left by the cancelled Russian Grand Prix. It was initially thought the spot would go to Qatar before talk surfaced at the Australian Grand Prix weekend that we could end up with a back-to-back Singapore double. However, neither options were considered feasible as logistical issues meant it was considered impossible for F1 to go straight from a European venue to Singapore, and there were concerns about the extreme heat in Qatar in September and the impact on the crowd. Also, given the level of inflation worldwide and the rise in freight costs, a replacement would have to make financial sense for the teams and F1, and obviously therefore it didn't. So the record-breaking 23-race calendar will now be formally cut to a record equaling 22. The decision to leave the spot vacant, by the way, leaves 2 free weekends between the end of the European leg at Monza on September 11th and the first of the flyaway races in Singapore on October 2nd. Before I get onto my predictions then, let's flash back to a classic Spanish Grand Prix memory. I was initially thinking of Michael Schumacher's incredible drive to victory on a drenched track in '96, but given that it is pretty much the anniversary of it and you probably know where this is going, let's instead flash back to 2012 and Pastor Maldonado's shock win. Following Lewis Hamilton's disqualification from qualifying for stopping on track as his McLaren did not have enough fuel to provide the FIA a sample, Pastor Maldonado was promoted to pole position. Pastor Maldonado, who by the way had already shocked everybody by taking P2 on the grid, few gave him any hope of holding off the likes of Fernando Alonso and co behind, and the Spaniard did take the lead off the line, demoting Maldonado to P2. The top two would stay the same through the first round of pit stops, but the Venezuelan closed the gap to the Ferrari and was first to make his second stop in an attempt to pull the undercut. His outlap was quite frankly incredible, around about 1.3 seconds quicker than the Ferrari in the middle sector alone, and he was helped further as Alonso lost time behind a struggling Charles Leclerc. That all allowed Maldonado to comfortably take the lead when Ferrari pitted Alonso, and despite a slow third stop, he stayed ahead of the Spaniard, and after passing a yet-to-stop again Kimi Raikkonen to take the lead, the Williams driver stayed there to claim his first and only Grand Prix victory ahead of Alonso and Raikkonen. It was such an impressive drive. I watched the 2012 season back over the winter, so obviously watched the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, and I remember thinking, watching that, he never looked even remotely flustered, despite the fact he had double world champion Fernando Alonso breathing down his neck in what was, in theory, a much quicker car. Fantastic drive from Maldonado. Right then, predictions time, and as ever, don't take these too seriously. They are just a little bit of fun, and if you do disagree with my picks, then you can let me know yours in the comment section down below. My Miami predictions were pretty bad as per, but they were also a clear improvement on Imola predictions, so, you know, small victories and all that. As for this weekend, on paper, this is a track that should play to Ferrari's strengths, and so this could be a good chance to stop Max Verstappen making it a hat-trick of wins. Red Bull, obviously, will still be very strong and we could be set for another close fight, but with the high-speed corners, a strength of Ferrari among other things, including the team's big update package, leave me leaning towards a Ferrari win. And I am going to risk jinxing Carlos Sainz again, so apologies in advance. I'll say he'll take pole position for his home Grand Prix, but go with Charles Leclerc for the win, leading home, a Ferrari 1-2 with Verstappen in third with the fastest lap point as well. Not a distant third though. Behind them, I think Mercedes will be podium outsiders again, but keep an eye out for McLaren, who really could do with a good bounce back in Spain after a difficult Miami. And although conditions are different and the cars have already come a long way since then, and yeah, sure, it wasn't even a real test and we shouldn't read anything into testing really, but I'm going to anyway, they were still strong in Barcelona in February, so, you know, they could do quite well. Plus, updates on that car could give them a little boost. As for some bolder predictions, I'm going to say once again that Mick Schumacher finally gets his first F1 points. Probably the week I stopped saying that he will get it, but there you go. If there is some drama ahead, a somewhat surprising podium for Valtteri Bottas. Would it be surprising given his form? I suppose it would still be. And maybe not all that bold, but I will say a double points finish for Alpine and a strong result for Alonso. Oh, and one more prediction. Nyck De Vries will be quicker than Nicholas Latifi in FP1 on Friday because I'm feeling cheeky. That is it for the Spanish Grand Prix preview, but don't forget you can let me know your thoughts and your predictions ahead of the weekend in the comments section down below. Now, I will be back live on Sunday shortly after the race for the usual reaction stream, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this one, then please do drop a like as it really does help the channel out, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos or streams. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.